What's up, Squadron 7? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my predictions for the Mandalorian finale and answer the question, or at least try to answer the question of which Jedi could possibly answer Grogu's call from the Seeing Stone. Let's get into it. Obviously, spoilers for The Mandalorian. If you have not seen it or if you're not caught up, go immediately and watch it and then come right back to this video. So leading up to the finale, obviously we have Bo-Katan, who is trying to get the Darksaber back from Moff Gideon to retake Mandalore, and we have Ahsoka, who's on the hunt for Grand Admiral Thrawn. And now the latest development is that Grogu has been taken. And now in the latest episode, Boba Fett and Fennec Shand have both sworn to help Din Djarin in his quest to get Grogu back. But there's an underlying question here that needs to be answered, and that is, who can possibly answer Grogu's beacon call? As they said in Return of the King, the beacons are lit. It's up to them to answer the call. Now, back in the episode The Jedi, Ahsoka obviously was on the hunt for Grand Admiral Thrawn and could not teach Grogu, and put him on the track to go to Tython and send out this beacon from the Seeing Stone. And she says, although there are not many Jedi left in the world, there are still some that could answer that beacon. But let's get this out of the way, some of my predictions for the finale. So who could theoretically answer that beacon? There are a couple of Jedi we know that have survived Order 66 and are still out there in the galaxy. Obviously, the first one that comes to mind is Luke Skywalker. The only reason I don't predict Luke Skywalker making an appearance in The Mandalorian is that the Skywalker saga is over and their story is largely finished. If we're going to revisit Luke Skywalker or anything pertaining to the Skywalker family, it's going to be in the Obi-Wan TV show, and it's going to be in Luke's own TV show about his time rebuilding the Jedi Academy and in his prime days. The Mandalorian as a show is positioned in a way where it's in its own sphere and very far removed from the Skywalker saga. We still have people who are involved very heavily from the Skywalker movies, but Ahsoka has never been a part of it, and so she's always been ancillary to that story, and so she could be, inserted rather well into The Mandalorian, as well as Bo-Katan and anybody that we are going to discuss in this video. So with that said, I don't think Luke Skywalker is making an appearance in The Mandalorian. Number 2, we have Cal Kestis. We don't know a lot about where Cal Kestis is in this timeline. Now, the last time we saw him, he had gotten this holocron with a list of Force-sensitive children, and he destroyed it in the hopes that the Empire would not get their hands on it. He would leave those children's fates to the Force. Fast forward to now, 10 ABY in The Mandalorian, and he could still very well be out there roaming the galaxy with Marin and the Mantis crew. The only reason I don't think he's going to make an appearance is that there's a sequel that's planned for Jedi Fallen Order, and I think it's going to continue Cal Kestis' journey. That's going to position his story even further from the Skywalker saga and kind of create their own little bubble with Cal Kestis and the Mantis crew. The third and most likely Jedi to show up is Ezra Bridger. Now, this is because all of the story threads are kind of converging on each other. We have Bo-Katan and the Darksaber possibly bringing Sabine's story into the mix. We have Ahsoka, who's also bringing Sabine into the mix, but we also have Ahsoka seeking out Grand Admiral Thrawn, who is bringing Ezra into the mix. And we also have a bunch of teases with Lothcats, so it's very well possible that in an attempt to rescue Grogu, they do in fact cross paths with Thrawn, and therefore cross paths with Ezra. Ezra could be in captivity with Thrawn, or he could just be with Thrawn. There's a lot to unpack there, but I'm just going to leave it at that. Now, there are 2 more Jedi who I think could show up, and these 2 Jedi inhabit a very unique space. They are very likely to show up, and they're highly unlikely to show up. The first I want to bring up is Quinlan Vos. The last time we heard of Quinlan Vos, he had been assigned to assassinate Count Dooku in the Dark Disciple book. He teamed up with Asajj Ventress, he fell to the dark side, he completely lost himself and betrayed the Jedi Order, and it was in a moment of sacrifice from Asajj Ventress that brought Quinlan Vos back. Quinlan Vos did survive Order 66, and he is still out there. Now, if I'm going to appeal to this show's theming and this show's aesthetic, Quinlan Vos fits perfectly. He's the perfect foil and the perfect wrench for Din Djarin's relationship with Grogu, and we all know the crux of this show is the relationship between Din Djarin and Grogu. And so Grogu is not going to be left on some planet to train as a Jedi. Instead, it would make sense that Quinlan Vos shows up to answer his call and does want to train Grogu. But Grogu doesn't want to leave Din and Din wants Grogu to train because Din has the best interests of Grogu in mind because he's Daddy Din. So what happens in this scenario is that Quinlan Vos joins Din's crew as the token Jedi. And as with all of these shows, there's always the token Jedi with the crew. And so Quinlan Vos serves as Grogu's master, but also serves as like this social dynamic foil and contrast to Din, who's very strict and traditional, although those pillars have been loosening over the past couple of episodes. And the social dynamic and dichotomy between Din Djarin and Quinlan Vos serves as a great vehicle for storytelling. The last Jedi that could possibly answer the call is Yaddle. Now, the last time we saw Yaddle canonically was in Phantom Menace. In Legends, she goes on a mission with Anakin and Obi-Wan and dies trying to save them. However, in canon, there is no reference to her whereabouts. Canonically speaking, she just took a lesser role within the Jedi Order, and she is no longer seen in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. So my reasoning behind Yaddle returning in The Mandalorian is to explain this disappearance, because I think in the advent of the Clone Wars, Yaddle took the Barish Vow. And if you're unfamiliar, the Barish Vow is a Jedi who has gone on a pilgrimage and recuses themselves from all of the affairs of the Jedi Order and the Jedi Council. They remain a Jedi, but on their pilgrimage they resume their training and continue to exemplify the ways of being a Jedi. This is what I think Yaddle is doing. She's taken a Barish Vow, and for someone who is as old as Yaddle but not quite as old as Yoda, I think she's in her 600s or 700s by now, she would resort to more ancient and unexplored planets to take the vow. So having Grogu reach out with the beacon, I'd like to think that Yaddle had received the beacon as well, because Yaddle has not seen her son in the longest time. And before you go into the comment section suggesting Yaddle and Yoda got busy and broke the Jedi code, we don't know anything about this species, so I am willing to assume that Yoda and Yaddle's species, in particular, physiologically speaking, reproduce asexually and lay eggs. So no, Yoda and Yaddle don't necessarily need to be their parents, but I do believe that Yaddle has, at least canonically speaking, room to have this attached to her story. She laid an egg, it was Grogu, they trained him in the Jedi Temple. When she took the Barish Vow, her son was left in the care of all of the Jedi Masters. And one of the Jedi Masters took Grogu at the advent of Order 66 and hid him away. And since she was taking the vow and recused from all of the affairs of the Jedi Council, she wouldn't have known about Order 66. But now she's getting this beacon from her son. This also makes sense because the first time we meet Grogu, he is in an egg-shaped container. His carrier is an egg-shaped carrier, which would be a great hint as to how that species physiologically reproduces. So Yaddle is my best desire lore-wise and narratively speaking, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to be someone we know like Quinlan Vos or Ezra Bridger or even maybe Cal Kestis. But my prediction for the finale is that Din, along with Cara, Mayfeld, Boba and Fennec and possibly someone else is going to storm the light cruiser of Moff Gideon. They're going to have this big battle. They're going to rescue Grogu, but in an attempt to rescue Grogu, they also meet up with Thrawn. Thrawn's not going to be involved in the battle, but Thrawn's going to show up at the very end. And if Ezra's the Jedi that answers, and Thrawn shows up, that's when Ezra shows up. But most likely the Jedi is going to show up at the very end of the finale when Thrawn shows up and at the apex of the battle. And of course, the season's going to end in a huge cliffhanger. They may save Grogu and not leave that to a cliffhanger, but they will reveal the Jedi, and the Jedi could either be Quinlan, Ezra, or Yaddle. That's my predictions. But in any case, what are your guys' predictions for the finale of The Mandalorian? What would you love to see? What Jedi would you love to see to answer Grogu's beacon? And what do you think is going to happen with the finale? Do you think Thrawn's going to show up at the very end? Do you think Thrawn's going to be at the beginning? Do you think they're going to pull in Ahsoka and just this Jedi is going to come out the gate swinging in the final episode and just be like, here I am? Leave it in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed my video and my breakdown of my predictions, please leave a like, subscribe, go over to TikTok _element7_, engage with me there. But on to the next one. This is the end of the video. May the Force be with you.